Hello everyone, Chaos Cat Gaming here. Now, you just finished your beacon lighting, and Oppie has just told you to go running off to go into the mid zone. But she told you to armor up your car. You figure, it'll be fine. I don't need that. I've been running fine. No, that's the game very nicely telling you to make sure your car is very well up to snuff, because getting to the middle zone is what I like to call a skill check, or rather a progression check. Because that last zone to get to the mid zone has a very nasty perk. That last zone has a very, very nasty buff that you want to make sure that you keep an eye out for. Eerie Darkness. Now, what Eerie Darkness means is that, like, you might think that regular darkness isn't that much of a problem. Eerie Darkness is you can't see it is always nighttime, and you can't see anything without either the car headlights, a flare, or your flashlight. Which means that your light stays on the whole time. Your light stays on basically the whole time, which gives you battery problems. Depending on if you get as unlucky as this is here, with having to go with both of these high instability zones, you're going to be taking a lot of damage. The enemies there are the area there is quite vicious, so trying to get through is a pain. But on top of that, that's not actually your final. So it's like that isn't your final destination. You have to go on into the new zone. So you have to be able to get through here with enough health and enough supplies left over to be able to go through 2 more zones, which for most people will be your longest drive so far. And man, is it a doozy trying to go that far. First, immediately, a good tip is to try to have before even you get to trying to upgrading your car, do some resource grinding, do some good grinding to get the research anchor nodes, cause you're gonna need them. So this is after I've done, for those of you following along with my series. This is after I've actually managed to get through to the middle zone, as you can see, after much pain. So I'm making this for all the people so you don't go through this. First off, one of the very simple but very helpful add-ons, researches, unlock all of these side racks. Side racks. The roof rack isn't useful right now if you're strapped for anchor nodes. Don't worry about getting those top racks right now. I don't think we can unlock anything to put on them, so only unlock those if at the very end when you don't have anything else left. Very useful are the seat racks in the back. The auto parker I very much so like, because I tend to have severe problems with the parking brake. And if you don't put the parking brake on, the car will just wander away. So the auto brake is very nice. So it automatically parks and unparks the car when you get in and out of it. However, doing so uses up even more battery. So first problem we have to take care of is battery. There are 2 methods for getting batteries right now. I don't know why the base is so dark. You're just gonna have to deal with it, as am I. There are 2 ways of getting batteries. That we can use over here. There is getting just a stupid amount of the battery jumpers. I wouldn't recommend trying to run off of those, because that's just gonna drain resources, take a bunch of space. Just don't worry about it. There's better ways of doing it. There's then the lightning rods, which will get you a bit of power when you get hit by electricity. But doing that means that your car still gets damage from the lightning, even if you have no matter what you have, your car still gets damaged slightly from that. So I wouldn't necessarily advise that, but especially since I'm thinking that that actually will draw lightning, so it'll actually cause your car to get hit by lightning more often by like the random storms going on. So I would personally avoid this, but if this is what you can afford, it's what you can afford. But there are two types of batteries that you can access. The side battery is just a battery that goes on one of those side racks that you see over there. The lead acid battery is a bigger battery that goes in one of those seat racks. So up to you which of those you want to use. I have the side battery, but that's because I got lucky and found a peculiar one. Which I'm not really sure if the peculiar one is even better, but it's what I have. However, there are two type of battery chargers that I use very often. That I personally use, which is the wind turbine, which, while it's raining and windy and stormy, and I think also while you are driving, if you are above a certain speed, will spin a like a little wind turbine type thing, and that will generate to you a little bit of power, continuously. So it's like it doesn't give you a whole lot. It gives you from 0 to 0.01, which is actually 0.01 kilowatts. I assume per second while it's running or whatever. Which honestly is fairly good, because the solar panel, which is pure passive, just gives you a 0.035. So, however, the hydro generator does give you 0.135 kilowatts per second, but it only works while it is raining. While the wind turbine gives you power at all gives you power while you are driving, when you are in wind, whatever. So it gets power from the wandering storms. It gives power from driving. Gives power from regular storms, whatever. So up to you which one you like. I prefer having the wind turbine, so let's go ahead and shove those on. Slap. And slap. Yeah, as you can see, it is actually already turning in here because the storm is going on. So that takes care of the battery problems. I would not recommend trying to... I gotta replace that, actually. I would not recommend trying to upgrade the carburetor engine to the... I would not recommend trying to get this battery, because it takes 42 thermal crystals, which for the time being, there's only two places that you get those thermal sap crystals from. Which is the fire turrets, or the basic exploding ones, or from the armored panels and doors on. I think the only one I've seen with the armored doors is actually the Squire. So those aren't all that common. So I'm gonna go ahead and get one of these, because I actually need to replace my engine. However, one of the big things I would say when doing a big upgrade like this, don't worry about running all of your stuff down, scrapping it, and coming back. I'd recommend, at least for the initial scrapping, just take all of your bad panels, all of your broken parts, whatever, and just yeet all of them down there. However, one thing that is very nice with the armored panels is that it is up to you. I would not recommend having the full body in trying to get the full body in armored, because as you are taking parts of used Squire cars, they tend to fatigue very quickly, which quite significantly weakens them, makes their durability go down much faster. whatever. So I would just simply advise against fully armoring the car. I'd advise at most the hood and the front 2 panels. But of course, because those tend to be where I tend to get the most damage, because the hood and the bumper get severely damaged when get damaged anytime you run into a tree, into a barricade, into another car, whatever. The bumper and the hood are the parts of the car that get damaged the most and get damaged first, along with the headlights, but that you can't really improve those beyond headlight, which I would highly advise. Not that one. I would highly advise just using the crude headlights and going ahead and upgrading them to the regular headlights. So to unlock the better headlights, go over here to the lighting icon, down to here, and it'll be that next tab here, which is headlights. Oh, actually, we can get the you'd think that you can get the you might be able to get the insulated headlights with enough materials. Unfortunately, to get the insulated headlights, you need a workbench level 2, which a workbench level 2 takes the unstable energy, so you won't be able to get to that. And unstable energy is only found while inside of that middle zone. So you won't be able to use that to prep for being able to get to the middle zone. But while we are on this page, some of the stuff I would recommend getting pre-run is to make sure you get the outfitting station, because the outfitting station gives you player upgrades. And realistically, the matter generator is helpful for just breaking stuff. The matter generator is this guy over here, which you throw in one of your parts, be it panels, headlights, or door. But you leave it here when you go out on a drive, and when you come back, it fully repairs it. However, very important thing to note is that, where is it? Yeah, with this though, you see that X icon there? That is the fatigue icon. The regenerator does not remove that. So once the part becomes fatigued, you can never remove it. Or else it'll stay fatigued. So but just keep that in mind for when deciding if you want to keep a part or to get rid of a part. So scrapping and rebuilding damaged parts is very useful, especially if you happen to be low on chemicals. Because I think in general, when using this scrapper, not your handheld scrapper, but you want to be sure to use this one. This gives I think somewhere between like 75 to 100% of the resources used to make the part back. So it's like depending on what sort of things are wrong with the part, how damaged the part is, whatever. But just scrapping it down would be better than using paste to repair it. But of course, that's all up to you. However, as this is very damaged and is fatigued, I'm just gonna go ahead and crunch it down and hope I come across more at some point. But yeah, see, that's one of those thermal crystals I was talking about that you'd need 42 of for the next one. So you'd have to go through. Okay, so first off, assuming that you don't have, it's better to assume you're not going to get the armored panels while you're out on the drive. Because to get the armored panels, you need the Liberator, which is It's one of the tools. It's this one which takes 5 of your thermostat crystals, so that would delay you trying to get the better engine. So first off, I would recommend, absolutely, hands down, no matter what you do, either get the hands down, no matter what you do, you want to come over here to the panel tab, and you want to absolutely either get at bare minimum either the insulated or the lead plated panel, and the insulated along with the doors, as well as going ahead and getting the better bumper. And not only the only bumper you can get before getting into the mid zone is the insulated, but even still the insulated has more health than the steel. But of course, depending on if you happen to run into things very often, the steel bumper might be beneficial because it has that 20% impact resistance. Whereas the insulated has more health, but it doesn't have the impact resistance, and instead just has the electrical resistance. So, so it's up to you. Personally, I tend to have mild problems with sudden electricity, so I have that. Between the two of these, personally, I like having a mixture of both of them, but of course, depending on the zones you're in, the lead panels will give defense for that door against radiation, which gradually decays all the durability on your car. Additionally, these two, like these big orange bubbles around the zones, those are high instability markers. So in that zone, everywhere you go is going to have that first level of radiation. So in that zone, your car is going to be taking constant radiation damage. Additionally, because of those zones popping up, I think they're popping up a lot more now that I got into that next zone. What's funny is that I don't remember them popping up until after I've flipped those stability markers, which is really funny when you consider the fact that I was supposed to stabilize the outer zone, not make it unstable. But either way, what was I saying? Oh yes, with those zones being very unstable, you want to absolutely be certain that you get this outfitting station here, because in this outfitting station is where all of the player upgrades are, such as where is it? Such as the lead apron, which gives you radiation resistance. Like the lead clothing gives you radiation resistance. However, what I am curious about is I don't know if I'm technically wearing both of these, so I'm getting a 60% bonus, or if I'm just wearing this, or if I'm just wearing the highest level one. However, from what I can tell, the lab coat and the parka, which I think would technically be on the same layer of clothing, you seem to be able to wear both of them at the same time, so you're kind of puffy. So we're kind of puffy with how many different clothes we have on. Balloon. Anyway, yeah. So absolutely with the bumper, absolutely, I'd advise getting this one for the more health, but it's up to you depending on how much you run into things versus not. I am going to go with the better bumper. However, one piece of tech that we have that I'd advise getting just for ease is down here under this tab, which looks kind of like a radar, which is the utility tab. And it's the first upgrade here is the limb pulse emitter, which puts a electric bubble around your car. Does not charge the lightning rod, so don't try to do that. Even if it did, it takes 2 kilowatts to use, but you'd only get half back, so not good. But that puts a bubble around your car that causes the abductors to release as well as the bunnies to release, so it's just kind of a helpful tool. Plus, you don't exactly run into things with the back of your car very often, so that being not having any bonus defenses isn't bad, but it still has 60 health. Additionally, in the utility tab also happens to be where the auto parker is. I find it kind of funny that it has that much health. However, the parts inside of your car will actually take damage if you open up the car doors while you're if your car is not closed while you're inside of a radiation area, or if the general amount of your car gets damaged enough that its protection is considered to be broken. The protection is that little red bar right there that's currently flashing red, because most of my car is gone, so my car does not currently have any radiation resistance. So what that means is that while I am inside of my car, I will still if that bar is full, I will not take any damage at all while inside of a radiation zone in the car. But if any of the doors are open, if they're not there, if they're too damaged, whatever, if the radiation can get into your car, you will start taking damage. Additionally, that also counts for running into things. So if the car is too banged up, you'll start taking damage from hitting stuff. Next, let's talk about fuel. Let's talk about the squishy stuff before we talk about the body. With the stuff, I'd also recommend just unlocking these just for ease of crafting, as well as just prerequisites of other stuff. Unlock these as you want. Here is actually the Liberator. This is the tool that you use to be able to take off the armored panels off of the Squire, should you want to take them. So the next thing on the list is fuel. Now, I'd absolutely advise just getting the large fuel can, so you don't have to worry as much about trying to find what car you go, any cars that have fuel, or gas stations, or one of these things, which is a gas tanker, which you might have seen at like gas stations or such, filling it up or whatever. Inside of these, that tank here happens to generally have a decent bit of gas in it. This one doesn't. But also this is also a gas tank, so it has a little so it generally, while out in the wild, will have a fuel nozzle right here, similar to this nozzle, which you can use to just grab that and pump into the car. Oh, helpful tip while going is that you see how my fuel tank is currently empty? I can drop that on the ground and actually fill that up from anything that has this nozzle. So I can fill that up as if I would a car. So having one of these, having the fuel cans not only helps you to be able to collect more gas while you are out in the wild, not having to worry about filling up just that little can, but you also have this big can which has, I think, double the capacity of the small one. Yeah. So the big can has the double capacity of the small one, so that lets you be able to carry even more gas around. However, on the flip side, it does take up a decent chunk of space, so I don't remember getting that. Anyway, it does take up a decent chunk of space, so you could pick out which one you want. Those fuel cans might be more useful in the middle zone, because when I went to the middle zone, I didn't see a whole lot of cars that actually had gas, so those cans might So the cannons might not be as useful trying to get through that first part, but I definitely feel like they'll be helpful up here. However, one upgrade that will be useful, let me check, that was, yep. One upgrade that is good is over here is getting the gas tanks. There's the slide tank, which goes on the side of the car. There's also the backseat tank, which you saw that I have, which has double the capacity of a side tank, but takes up your backseat. But as of right now, but it's like there's very few things that we put in the backseat, so I'd say that having that is fairly decent. Additionally, that's not like a giant fuel can that you have to pump in. That increases the size of your regular tank by 25. So which is actually why I went ahead and got so many of these of the side racks, is that while grinding I could just get a bunch of resources and bring it all back at once. They do have about half the storage space of the base level boxes in the back. They seem to only take damage from if your car flips or whatever. I think I have gone over all of the external things that I can think of, so it is now time to actually go through and work on building all of the stuff. So with getting into the mid-zone, I would absolutely recommend having a bunch of these. So I would recommend, I don't know if the exact placement of these actually matter, but I feel like they do roughly. So personally, I like having one on my door because I don't want the radiation coming straight to me. And then through here as well, for the same reason of just keep it from going straight through. Let's see. Alright, so like the way to get lead is that there is while you're driving around, there's these you'll see areas that have the purple, I think it's purple to bluish fluorescent light stands. Anytime you see one of those, go to those. Sometimes those are like pneumatic loot boxes, and sometimes those are the stuff, because it's like a little research station that has like stands for the lead panels to sit on. It seems to be in general like there is a difference in how the panels look. There is the panels that are the there's two types of panels. It looks like there is one panel that has very few very few of the little lead squares on it. Those ones I don't think generally get a whole lot more. Alright, since that final zone happens to be full of darkness, I'd highly recommend getting the side floodlight as well on the side rack, which can be found over here in the light tab, I know. Yeah, over here in the light tab here. Initially, like, I did absolutely not understand, know how well I'd be able to use the side rack, but I got it because like it's dark. It's an extra thing of light. Maybe you'll find some use for it. So getting this one, and additionally, I would say that putting this light on this side is pretty worthless. And I'd highly advise putting it on this side instead. Which I didn't actually do. I put this one here, so let's swap that on over. So with having that there, remember that does not simply turn on when you turn on the light. That is actually considered as an ability, so you need to make sure to go into here and turn it on, and actually assign that. But make sure to have that on before you go away. I wonder if that's a new quirk on my car. But speaking of, while we're on the topic of quirks, absolutely, hands down, one of the most important things that you absolutely have to make sure to check on is that on that first tab of the research thing, you'll see what is like the stethoscope. I think that's what it's called. That gets you the Tinker Station. The Tinker Station is hands down one of the most important unlocks to absolutely make sure to have before you go off on your journey, before you go out trying to get to the middle zone. So here, this is the Tinker tab. So how this works is that you go through and tell it which part of the car you think is the trigger. In which case, this is actually perfect because I had this problem while going through the zone on my run. I'm trying to go through that zone on the run, which makes it an absolute pain. So what you do is that you go through is that first you say, what part do you think causes the extra effect? In which case it is the steering wheel, and it'll change, and next you'll pick what it is that you're doing with that thing, with that part of the car, that triggers the problem. So with this one, either turning the wheel to the left, turning the wheel to the right, which activates with those two will trigger when you start turning. Swerves hard, I would probably be kind of hard to tell because I'm not sure what exactly that would qualify as. That might be like using the handbrake and turning. It might be turning a certain hardness. I'm not sure. However, this quirk is the stays turning. And so I am guessing that my quirk uses the steering wheel, activates while it stays turning, and depending on what it is, that is a thing of something will either gradually get worse while doing something, or will just be going in tandem with it or whatever. So with this one, I already know what it is. So with this side, this is the side that on this side is what part is being affected when you do the thing that with the other part. So I think that my problem is with the headlights, and that they dim while I am still turning. It is very problematic because while turning, your lights will dim all the way down to being off while you are turning, and it dims very quickly. And this is a major problem because in that eerie darkness zone, you can't see anything while driving unless you have your headlights on. So hands down, you want to make sure that you do not have this. Additionally, when I was in the mid zone, I don't know if that's just because I didn't stay there long enough for it to go daytime, but it stayed nighttime the entire time I was in the mid zone. So I don't know if it just stays dark in the mid zone, or if it's just a matter of like what of the zone I was in. Anyway, let's see if I'm right. So how this works is sort of Fallout New Vegas hacking style of you get a certain amount of guesses when you get a certain amount of guesses that resets after each time you do a run. Or like it resets the amount of guesses you have per run to be able to guess which part is having a problem, and it will tell you if you are right on thinking that part is having that problem, based on if it has smiley faces. However, like with the things of it goes left, goes right, there are other parts that have those modifiers. So it is possible that that you could be right on the goes left, but you're incorrect on which that gets triggered. Some of the quirks are extremely detrimental to you, such as there's one quirk that the part of your car will just drop off of you. Grumpy Bird Pink actually had a quirk of where if he turned off his car, his engine dropped out of the car, which means that every time he turned off his car would no longer be able to run. Of course, if you can always just pick it back up because we have superhuman radiation fueled strength. be able to just pick that bad boy up and slap it back in the car to be able to get it, be able to take care of it. Now I have that taken care of, which I absolutely say is hands down one of the most important things. Let's go ahead and get the tires so my car is no longer crooked. So I'd recommend getting off-road. They have more health. They're slightly worse on regular road, but they're significantly better on off-road and on water. And generally, with how I play, I'm very rarely on a road. So whatever. I don't know why that has extra radiation resistance, but one of my tires apparently does. Which tire has the radiation resistance? The peculiar. So with the peculiar batteries they have, this has a 45% resistance to corrosion, but a 300% weakness to I think that's puncture. And as you can see on my left, when I scan this, it actually pulls up a bar. So you can see that my generator has a 300% weakness to puncture, but a 10% resistance to impact and 45% resistance to radiation. Now, for reference, I have this regular mini turbine here, which only has a 15% resistance to electricity. So at minimum, the peculiar tar parts completely changes what resistances the part has. As well as, at the very least, when I had a peculiar scrapper, it reduced the amount of health that it had, but I think it increased the amount of loot I got when I scrapped something. However, if I recall correctly about this, there is one downside. There is, I think, a major downside to peculiar. Is that, as you can see, when I hover over this one, I have that repair icon on the far left. I don't have that here. However, if I go over to this one, I get it again. So the major downside for peculiar items is that you cannot repair them. So the peculiar items will just eventually break. Oh, right, I was putting in my headlights. So any part can be peculiar. You find peculiar parts at random. Several of my peculiar parts have come from these guys, which are friendly dumpsters, while I've been out in the world. Ooh. Give me a panel. But yeah, so it's like, even if you think that this one doesn't give you anything of value, as you can see here, it absolutely did, because it gave me 2 repair putty, which is 4 whatever worth of food. I don't really understand what the essential thing does beyond best pals. Sometimes the dumpster knows best. The friendly dumpster wouldn't be your best pal in all the zone, sir. Oh, best pal status. It's second best pal. Remy is my first best pal. I wouldn't be if it wasn't handing out things to things you really need. Things you definitely certainly should keep in order to safely make it through the next leg of your journey. So, it gave me this because I don't currently have any panels actually assigned. So it gave me a panel because the game knows I don't have any panels. So one of the first things you want to do when you come back, especially from a really rough run, before repairing anything, before swapping up parts, before anything, you want to make sure you come over to the friendly dumpster, because the friendly dumpster does often, like, if depending on how bad of a shape your car is in, will give you repair putty as well as car parts. However, getting car parts out of it is less important because I think it gave me a steel panel because I've actually made it into the middle zone, because before getting into the middle zone it gave me a bunch of crude panels, and actually my back doors are actually damaged, aren't they? Yeah, so I'm actually going to go ahead and swap out these doors, and because these doors are in decent shape and they're spinny, and they're actually they're higher tier than the scrap, I'm actually going to go ahead and toss them back here and take these doors out, because what I've been doing is oh wow. What I've been doing is that I'll swap out some of my panels with back here. So I will come on through. So I'll take the panels off of my car, off the car that are damaged. Of course, you throw that one with these. We'll take my damaged car off of there, and I'll just swap it. First, we'll go ahead and swap it into. And go ahead and swap it, put it into here, so when I come back, I can go ahead and swap them out to be able to replace them, without having to use putty to repair it. Because the putty is expensive, especially for small amounts of repair. Where's my other door? Especially for smaller amounts of repairing, because the putty, for most things, at least for the time being, will give it a full repair, going all the way from red to a full bar like this. Oh, that's fully charged. Everything but the battery does get slowly damaged when you go through radiation pockets. If you drive through these big instability zones a lot, your engine being damaged will probably become a bigger concern. So next, again, personally, I tend to have a bigger problem with having to deal with radiation than I do with the electric. However, on the flip side, it is generally actually harder to run it is trying to get the lead part, the lead to be able to build these is actually harder than it is to get the stuff for the insulation. So while I do personally recommend these, because I find that radiation is generally a bigger issue. Oh right, getting the lead panels is harder to get than what you would need for the insulated, because the insulated is all parts that I think you can just get out of the stuff. Yes, it's well, not that one. It's copper wire, plasma, and steel sheets. Plasma is on those radio towers all over the place. Steel sheets are super easy, and copper wire seems to come out of everything that uses power. So trying to get the insulated is generally significantly easier than it is to get that. Like, as you see, I'm actually almost out of of lead. Of course, I also don't know how much this panel will actually be helpful once you get into the in the mid zone. However, I don't know how useful the insulation is useful in the mid zone either. However, one thing that is beneficial is, at the very least, the first zone I was in the mid zone had significantly more water than the outer zone, and having water is actually a big hazard, and is actually specifically marked on the shocked log of saying, like, you don't want to get a shocked part in water. I don't exactly know what it does, because I didn't do it, but still. It's still something to keep to think about when choosing what sort of layout you want on your car. Additionally, depending on which modifier you have, sometimes the modifier is is electric storm. Sometimes the area has a whole bunch of electric guys. Like that zone has the shocked tourists, which are like the tourists, but they send out electricity. They have the Bolt Bunny, which I don't think I've actually seen before, but I assume it's like a bunny but electric. And the Sizzle Mist, which is a big cloud of electricity. So that in that one zone has a whole bunch of electric stuff. And I think that's the car all prepped. So I think that's the car all prepped and ready to go for the for your attempt to go running into the middle zone. So remember, so you want to have side lights just to help out significantly, because the side lights will massively light up everything over on the side, and you want to make sure that it's over on the left. But I think that is the best tips I can give you. As Alpi has mentioned a couple times, there is this loop track back here that you can run that is particularly useful for to be able to have an area to test what anomalies you have on the car. But I think that if you're able to follow these steps, that you are now all prepped and ready to be able to go off on your trip off to the mid zone. Points to make sure to check that you don't have the dimming headlights or any other major bad quirk, and that you make sure that you get the player upgrade and you go ahead and upgrade that some. And without further ado, good luck on your trip in conquering the outer zone and traveling and getting to the grand world of the middle zone. Good luck and have fun out there.